We have a very special guest with us today, Wing Commander Rakesh Sharma. He was the first Indian to go into space on a Russian launcher in 1984. Did you know that? You all knew that?
Yes.
He is going to share his very exciting experience with all of us today.
Ready?
Yes, sir.
Good. And how do you all feel this morning? Fit? Thrilled. Are you fit enough to go into space?
Yes, sir.
You want to see some of the pictures which I have here on my laptop?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So then, since it's on my laptop and we have just this one screen, it'll be nice if you get up and come and arrange yourselves behind me so that you're all able to see what I'm going to show you. Okay. Look at this. This is Yuri Gagarin's statue. He was the first guy who went into space. When we went there, we did a lot of technical training. You know, we had to learn about the spacecraft itself, how it works, and if something were to go wrong, how we are supposed to fix it. In space, there's no gravity. But how does that affect the human body? When, see, here you are, you're standing on the ground, right? If I push you like this, you can straighten yourself, right?
Yes.
How do you do that? Because you are sensing that your weight is shifting. You know, there are semicircular canals in the head which help you balance and keep yourself straight. But if you don't have weight, like in space, it's zero gravity, you don't have weight. How will you sense? You can't sense. So you can't keep yourself straight. So the body keeps tumbling up and down. And when that happens, the semicircular canals in the ear, they really get agitated. And you start feeling perspiration, and those are the symptoms of space sickness. So we needed to train ourselves, train the semicircular canals to adjust to this kind of a situation. So you sit on this chair which goes round and you keep moving your head. So initially you can't do it for more than 2 minutes, and then maybe 4 minutes, and then slowly it goes on till your semicircular canals are conditioned and you're ready to go into space. This is called the centrifuge. They put you in this and turn the whole thing around, and it is like you're sitting in a car and you're going fast and you turn the wheel. What happens? Your body goes to the other side, right? You get pressed. So similarly, over here, when this is going around at very high speed, you're pressed into the seat. Now, the problem with that is that when you are pressed into the seat, it's an invisible force which is acting on you. That is called the G-force. It happens when you accelerate very fast. And that is what happens when you are going into space. Remember that your launcher, your rocket, is on the launch pad with zero speed. And it has got to reach orbit, which is 500 kilometers away. And it takes only about 8 minutes to reach there. So the acceleration is very high. So wherever there is acceleration, there is this G-force, invisible force acting on your chest. So your body weight increases. If 4 Gs are acting, that means your body weight goes to 4 times. If I'm 60 kilos, it becomes 240 kilos. Even the rib cage becomes heavy. So it presses against the spine. So the lungs do not have any place to expand. So how do you breathe? You train for that situation in the centrifuge. Okay? You feel like Superman in space because you don't have any weight, no gravity. So you're flying. So you want to go from here to there. You just push the wall and you just keep going, floating that way. Right? Then we've done a lot of work on the simulator, basically to find out how to go through the launch sequence, the docking, undocking, and re-entry into the atmosphere. So a lot of procedures are there, and when we are doing these procedures, these instructors out here, they keep pressing these red buttons and giving us emergencies because they want to see, suppose things don't work, how is this crew going to react to that situation? This is sea survival training. Suppose the spacecraft, while returning, lands on sea and not on Earth. It could be anywhere. It could be in the Arctic Ocean, Antarctica. So this is where we train how to get out of that situation. This is the rocket as it is going towards the launch pad. Here it is put up, pointing towards the sky. We are having a look at our seats, which we occupied during the launch and the re-entry. Each seat is built to the body contour of each cosmonaut, each astronaut. Because when you are getting pressed into the seat and your body weight increases by a factor of 4, if your seat has got any pointed edges, then that's going to be very painful, right? Because you'll be pushed into it. This is the apparatus with which we did our experiments. One of the experiment was yoga. Then on the day of the flight, you start going towards the launch pad, change into your pressure suit, and after that, get up on this lift which takes you to the capsule, which is right on top of the launcher. And when the time comes to leave the Earth, the engine, the rumble, the sound, the vibration, this is where the acceleration starts. The G-forces build up, breathing becomes difficult. But 8 minutes later, you're in orbit and your body weight from, say, 240 goes to 0 in an instant. In an instant, absolutely. So we went and docked with the laboratory, which was already in orbit. And this is a shot of the capsule coming in just before the docking with the laboratory. Some yogic asanas being done in space by me. Like I told you, this was one of the experiments. Here, we are having dinner. Okay, I'm upside down. My crewmate is the right side up. It is all the same for us while eating. Since there's no gravity, you can be pointing any way.
How does the food go in when there's no gravity?
Okay, how does it go in?
Yeah.
Suppose you stand on your head now, and I give you something to eat. Will you be able to swallow it?
A bit difficult.
No, but it will happen. Why? Because it all depends on muscular action. Gravity has nothing to do with eating. Once you put food in your mouth and you chew it and then you swallow it, then that morsel of food is moving down the food pipe with the help of muscles. Muscles overcome gravity. And as far as the digestive system is concerned, it does not know whether you're in space or on ground. Thankfully, otherwise you won't be able to eat. This is the rim of the Earth. Note that the sky is black. It's a day shot, but the sky is black. Why? Why should the sky be black?
No sunlight.
Because you're above the atmosphere. The sky is blue because you're looking at the sky from Earth, and there's a lot of moisture in the atmosphere, right? That gives it the blue tint. But when you're above the atmosphere at 500 kilometers per hour, the atmosphere is below you, and you look up, the sky is black. Beautiful shot, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Now, this is the most beautiful sight from space. You're looking at the solar panel, and the solar panel suddenly becomes golden. While you're still watching it, you will see the Earth just a line, a blue line. As you look, that blue turns to yellow, orange, green. It goes through the color spectrum, and suddenly, this is what you see. The sun peeping out from behind the Earth, quite like a diamond. Very pretty, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then when we finished our flight, we moved all our stuff back into the capsule. We undocked from the laboratory and we started our engines, which slowed us down because we now started flying slower. The Earth's gravity started pulling us towards Earth, and we came back. When we came back, there was a lot of friction because we were now going through the atmosphere but traveling at a very high speed. So with that friction, the whole capsule was covered in flames. the heat never traveled inside. And when you're at about 30,000 feet, this parachute opened, and here is the capsule with 3 of us sitting in it. The whole capsule comes down with the help of this parachute. That's it. That's the space flight. Good. You enjoyed the slideshow? Yes, sir. Right. Okay, who's going to ask the first question?
How were you selected as an astronaut?
Well, the Russians who we flew with, the thing is we didn't have very much of time. The flight needed to be performed within about 18 months from the time it was accepted. So they needed to select people who were familiar with at least aircraft systems, because spacecraft systems are just an extension of aircraft systems. So they searched from amongst the pilots of the Indian Air Force and then narrowed it down from amongst test pilots. So I was a test pilot at that time, and I was young and I was fit and I was the right guy at the right place at the right time. That's how I got selected.
How does it feel to be the first astronaut from India?
Well, you feel very lucky because you know how many of us are here, and I've never won a lottery in my life, but this was the biggest lottery. Feels good.
Were you frightened to make this journey?
I wasn't afraid of the space flight itself, but during the flight, especially when we returned, when the parachute opened, at that point, I showed you all those rigging lines which were ending up, it was a metallic ring and the capsule is shaped like a bell. So at 30,000 feet, when you're traveling at that speed and the parachute opens, there's a shock and the capsule keeps turning around and those rigging lines and the ring keeps moving and the whole sound gets amplified inside the capsule. And I was certain that the parachute is going to tear away and part company with the capsule. At that time, yes, I was a bit scared that will we survive this? So I hope that answers your question. So I wasn't afraid of the flight itself, but during the flight, this is what happened.
Is it difficult to sleep in space?
It's not difficult. I'll tell you what happens. You first have to use a sleeping bag. You get into a sleeping bag, zip it up. Just make sure you tie the sleeping bag to some part of the ship. Otherwise, you will keep floating around. You know, it'll be a moving experience. You're weightless, sleeping bag is weightless, right? And if you don't tie it, then you keep moving around. So that's unusual. The other thing which is difficult is that if you're tired, all day you've spent working, in the evening on Earth, what happens is as you lie down, there is that sense of relief that there is no more weight on my legs, you know, and I'm now resting. In space, you do not feel that difference. So there's no sense of psychological relief that you've laid yourself down. So that is different. So you zip up in a sleeping bag, crouch, artificially load yourself, and then go to sleep. If you don't have a problem sleeping on Earth, you won't have a problem sleeping in space.
What is the food that you took to space?
Well, we were very lucky. We could choose from 80 dishes. There were 80 types of food, whether they were rice preparations, dry fruits, juices, and they were all stacked up in a special area in the spacecraft, in the laboratory which was already in orbit. And all we needed to do was, okay, today I feel like eating this. Take it out. There was an oven there, heat it up, and 5 minutes later, hot food is ready. It's in a tin. You open the cap, take some plastic spoon and consume your food. No problem. Yeah, water and liquids is a bit of a problem. Because if you take it in a glass and then it drops, then, you know, because of the surface tension of the water, it remains like a sphere and it keeps floating around. Now that's bad news if that happens, because then there are so many computers and things, and so what do? It happened once, then they had a conference and they said, okay, if you put a towel in it and try to catch it, then it will break into so many small spheres. That won't work. So these 3 astronauts stood around that sphere and sucked up the water. So that doesn't happen. What you've got is you've got a canister which dispenses water under pressure. So you've got a pipe with a spout at the end. Put that spout in the mouth, press a button, water is delivered to your mouth under pressure. And from that point onwards, as we had explained, muscular action takes it in. So that's how you eat and drink in space. So where is the next question? How do you go to the bathroom? Yeah? Yeah. No problem, it's the same way. It's just that what do you do with the body wastes that come out? So the solid wastes are done in a rubber bag and tied up, and then you put the waste in an aluminium container which periodically you jettison out into space. Yeah. And that slowly it keeps going around the earth and keeps losing height, and finally it enters the atmosphere and burns up. Some of the shooting stars which you see is actually human waste returning back to earth. And some of you must have crossed your fingers and made a wish. Yeah? Okay. Any other question? Yeah.
Was there any recreation in this in the space travel you did?
Recreation, yeah. In the 80s, we had video cassettes. We had a video player up there. So we used to watch movies. Didn't have very much of free time. We had our audio Walkmans we had taken. So our personal music. So you could put on the earphones and listen to some music. That's about it. You can't go out for a walk. You know? Yeah. Okay, yes?
How do you bathe in the spacecraft?
Well, you can't bathe in space. You can, of course, but the thing is that you have to carry the water from Earth to bathe over there. So it's not a very viable and economical way of doing things. It's very expensive to take anything up in space. So we've got these towels with a bit of Savlon in it and things. So you give yourself a rub so that the bacteria doesn't take hold. So you don't bathe, you do only a dry clean in space. Yeah.
How many times did you go around the world?
17 times a day, 8 days. So do the mathematics. 136. Correct. So I've been around the earth 136 times in those 8 days. And what it gets you to see is 136 sunrises and 136 sunsets, right? It takes 90 minutes to go around the earth once. So I showed you those pictures of a sunrise. So you see that sunrise. And if you've missed it, wait 90 minutes and you'll see it again. Wait 45 minutes, you'll see a sunset in reverse. Wait 45 minutes, you see another sunrise. Great experience. So, you all want to go into space? Yes. Yeah? Okay, good.
Could you see any monument on Earth?
You are probably referring to the Great Wall of China. Well, I did not look out for the Great Wall of China because whenever we were flying over India, we were doing some experiment or the other. So we were busy shutting down those experiments, so I didn't look out for it. But I can imagine any object which has linearity and which has a color contrast can be seen from space, from the heights we were flying at. For example, you can see an airliner flying over the ocean only because the exhaust condenses, right? There's a white line. So there's a long white line seen against the blue of the ocean, and you can pick that out. if there's a railway line on a desert, because it goes for kilometers, so that black line against the beige colored of the desert, you can see it. Anything that has linearity and which has a color contrast can be seen from space. But you can't see cities, you can't see Bangalore, Bombay, nothing. You don't see the detail.
What else did you see in space?
Looking outwards? Yeah? Oh, it's about the same what you see, because remember that the stars and the planets are light years away, thousands of kilometers, and I was only 500 kilometers closer to them than you are, right? So I didn't see very much more than what you did. What I did see was a sight which was clearer than what you see, because when you are viewing these objects, you're viewing them through the atmospheric layer, and I was above the atmosphere. So stars would not twinkle, they were pinpoints of light. That's the difference.
What did India look like?
Well, this is the same question which Mrs. Gandhi had asked, and I had no hesitation at that time to answer her by saying that India looked sare jahan se acha. Of course, one always feels that one's country is the best, but if I let you know why I said that, it is because from space, India, the entire peninsular region, there's so much of coastline, and you see it set off against the beautiful blue sea, and then there's a lot of greenery along the coastline. Then as you start going from south to north, as we did, it starts becoming brown, the Deccan Plateau. Then going further on, the golden color of the desert, Rajasthan desert, etc. Then the Gangetic Plain becomes green again. Go further north and you come to the Himalayas, which from that height look purple actually, because the sun cannot get down into the valleys, and then the snow-capped mountains. So really it's a beautiful sight, absolutely. And all of this you see about a minute and a half as you go past India. It was wonderful. It was a lovely sight, indeed. Well, to be fair, even Africa looked very pretty from space.
What did our planet look like?
Our planet really the most beautiful planet in the universe, right? Because it's about the only place where the environment supports life, as you know. I won't say it's the only place, it's the only known place. So it looks like really a blue marble against a black sky. And there are white patches around which really are cloud patches. So the earth looks absolutely beautiful. And what it tells you is that, really speaking, there are no borders drawn on earth. Borders have been drawn by us. So whoever has been into space gets this feeling that the earth is one, and so should be the people on it. And as Gandhiji had often said, that the earth has enough for everybody's need, but not enough for everybody's greed, right? So it is evident that the environment must be protected so that all of us and our generations, which are yet to come, your children, the children of your children, have something to use from this earth so that their lives can be as fulfilling as ours is. We have everything. So we should not be wasting non-renewable energy sources. We must conserve our forests. Everything which our forefathers knew, I think we need to remember that, because there is no other place for miles and miles around. And if we spoil the environment of planet Earth, there is nowhere else to go. Okay? Yeah.
Are there any courses and things that you have to do to become an astronaut?
Well, it depends what role you want to play in this space game. Do you want to be a researcher? Do you want to be one who is going to be the commander of the ship? Are you going to be a scientist who can think up of some experiments? Or you want to help with the control system, somebody who makes those spacecraft which go into space? Or you want to be a communications engineer? You see, there are so many various roles which are there. So choose the one which excites you and then take up those subjects and prepare yourself for that career. Keep in touch with ISRO, and whatever has to happen will certainly happen. So wish you all the best in your future careers.
Thank you, sir.
You're most welcome, and I hope to see you all in space soon.
We have a very special guest with us today, Brinda. She works with children in an organization called Makkala Sahayavani. Would you like to say something, Brinda?
Yes, thank you. Makkala Sahayavani, as the name suggests, is a helpline for children. And this was started almost 7 years ago. And the main idea to start something like this was any child in any kind of distress, any kind of trouble, could pick up a phone, dial the number 1098 and talk to us. We try and see how we can help, talking to them on the phone. There are times also when we've gone and met with children at schools, sometimes on the streets, sometimes even at workplaces. This has the backing of law, because India has signed something called Convention on the Rights of Children.
Can you please tell us who will answer the phone call if we call to Makkala Sangha?
Makkala Sahayavani.
Yeah.
There is a trained social worker on the other end. And so when you call, the first thing we say is Makkala Sahayavani, Namaskar, and you can talk on the phone. It is a toll-free number, so you do not have to pay money for it. But sometimes you may not be able to hear what we are saying if you're calling from a coin booth, unless you put the coin inside. But from all other telephones, there is no bill for it. And the person on the other side is going to give you the information that you ask for.
Is the person on the other side an adult or a child?
Most of the times it is an adult. But there are some times when we get children who come and volunteer with us. Children from 8th, 9th, 10th standard. But if the questions are something that a child cannot answer, this person will say, please wait, I'll give it to the social worker.
How young and old are the children who call you up at Makkala Sahayavani?
Sometimes children who are 4 and 5 just call to talk. Just tell us. Sometimes there are children who call and just recite a poem or a rhyme on the phone. We listen to it and then we'll say, okay, hi, bye, and finish. There are also young adults, somebody who's 21, 22 years also, they have called. But as per the convention that I was talking to you about children's rights, that says till the age of 18, a person is a child. So this person can call us and we can give them legal support, besides a lot of other support that we can give.
How many calls does Makkala Sahayavani get per day?
About 50 to 55 calls a day.
At what time children call you?
Anytime. Because we're talking of children who may be going to school, who may not be going to school.
Does Makkala Sahayavani work 24 hours?
Our office is open from morning 8 to evening 8 all days of the week. But after that, the calls get transferred to the control room. Then when we come the next morning, we respond to the call. But if it is an emergency, the police will come. The police will respond.
Where is your office situated?
Inside the police commissioner's office on Infantry Road.
What kind of calls you get from the children?
If there are children going to school and they have an exam, then they call us up and say that just now in an hour's time we'll be going for exams and we've kind of forgotten everything that we've studied. And I feel very upset. But there are times when children who are living on the streets, either they might have been beaten by somebody or their friends might have fought with them. Sometimes the money that they have earned would have been taken away by someone. Sometimes we get calls from adults who will report that there is a child over here begging on the street and somebody is beating this child. Then we will go to the spot. We have a van. We will go to the spot to bring the child and we would also file a case.
Do the teachers have right to beat the children?
No, they don't have a right to beat the children. The government also agrees that teachers cannot beat their children with a stick, with a hand, with a duster or with a chalk. They're not supposed to beat children. And there is a clear direction from the government that you're not supposed to do something like this.
If a child is beaten in school or at home, and if he calls Makkala Sahayavani, how do you help him?
We will take the name of the school. We will go and speak to the principal and tell the principal that we've got some calls from your school about children being beaten. No complainant's name is given. Once we go and reach the principal and tell this principal that something like this has happened and this has been happening in your school, so we request you to take action, because the school principal has to first acknowledge that this is being happening. And we will also tell this person who called us to call us back in 3 days or 4 days time. And if it is not changed, then we would meet with the local BDO, that is the block education officer. If that also doesn't work, then we have gone up all the way to the education commissioner. We also go to the schools and talk to the teachers, telling them that beating children is a violation of children's rights. And if something like this continues, then we will have to take legal action.
In some school, if a student makes a mistake, the teachers and HM will say that I will give you TC and I will send out of the school. Do they have a right to give TC and send out of the school?
No, they don't. But that does not mean that you can do anything and still defy. You understand when I say defy? That you challenge and say, I'll do whatever I want, you do whatever you want. But the law doesn't permit that you give a TC because I don't like his face, because he shouted, because he screamed, because she ran too fast. So you don't give TCs for those things. Nobody can give a TC like that.
But some big mistakes.
What are the big mistakes?
If somebody hit that school glass something.
Broke the school glass. Broke the school glass does not warrant a TC. Maybe you will have to pay a fine to repair the glass, but you don't give a TC for that. No, you cannot give. Not don't, you cannot give.
What would you do if parents don't want their children and they don't want to take care of them?
Parents cannot decide that they don't want their children. It is their duty and responsibility to take care of their children. But if for some reason, if the parents have separated, or if the parents are fighting and they are not able to take care of the child that time, that moment, then the child can be kept in a hostel for a brief period, 3 months, 4 months, before the parents themselves settle their problem. But if there is nothing like that, and they simply decide that they don't want to take care of their children, then there is a law against it. Then we will have to call the parents, talk to them, counsel them, and see that they will take the child back. And then there are lots of other organizations who do a lot of follow-up work. Are they really taking care of the child, beating the child, or they're starving the child? And the action will be taken on them.
Do you get any calls wherein the child is ill-treated by the parents, but the child loves the parents very much?
All children love their parents.
No, but the parents are ill-treating the child.
That is something that parents cannot do. You cannot ill-treat the child. And what would you call ill-treatment?
Like physical pain, harassing them.
Physical pain has been agreed, harassment has been agreed, is a violation. You cannot do it. But when some people do it, they think that that is how I am going to correct my child. Many times I may not beat you because of what you did wrong, as much as how I feel because of whatever you did. And I want to tell you that I am stronger, I am bigger, and I can hit you, but you can't hit me back. So beating or physical punishment really does not make the other person good or disciplined. But if we take time, beating is 2 seconds, but explaining will take 2 minutes. If I explain it to you, then I'm sure you'll understand. All children are very intelligent. Do you agree?
Yes, ma'am.
It's not that only adults are intelligent. Adults might know a little more, but it is always best to explain. And beating alone does not bring about discipline. Explaining to you will make you responsible. Being responsible is being disciplined. And that is why when we get a call like this where the child says, I love my parents, but the only problem is they beat me and I'm scared. Maybe today I got less marks, or today I dirtied my socks or shoes, or my shoe tore, I lost my pencil, I lost my tiffin box and I'm very scared. So maybe somebody from outside, maybe somebody like Makala Sahayawani would be able to explain to the father what the child is going through. That is where our job is. Our job is not to say father is very bad, the child is very good, or somebody else is very good and somebody else is bad. No. What we have to see is, can we explain things to people so that violence is not there?
If a child dials and calls to you and say that he is working in a hotel, and that hotel manager is treating in bad, cruel way, and he asks you to help him, and if you go and talk to him, the child would not want that, because he is earning money from that hotel, and he have solution, and he wants to earn money.
Okay, he wants to continue to work there,
And,
but not be ill-treated by this employer.
Yes.
Yes, there are times when we get calls like this. So we will not go to that hotel and say that so-and-so child called us. Many times the hotel has more than 3 or 4 children working. So we will say that somebody who had come to your hotel saw you beating and ill-treating children working with you. And you are not supposed to do something like this. So every day or every week we will come and have a look to see whether children are all right or not. But if the children are 14 years or below 14 years, we do not advocate for the child to be working over there. We give the child an option, we give the child a choice to say that you don't have to work here, you can come, stay in a hostel, go to school, and when you're older, when you're 16, 17 years old, then you can work.
Apart from Bangalore, in which district do we have Makkala Sahayawani?
We have Makala Sahayawani in Udupi, Kundapur, Mysore, Hassan, Davangere, just now.
What are the difference between the cases you get here and in districts?
Sometimes in the districts the problem is with telephones. You don't really have phones everywhere like in the city. There in the districts, in the villages, a lot of children write letters about complaints. The cases that come in the districts are more of children who are working, children who are sent to work. Sometimes of children who are taken, saying that they will take them to the city to study because there are more schools in the city, but when they come to the city, the children are put to work, either in the homes or somewhere else. So the complaints will be from the children over there or from the parents saying that their children are missing, or the children are working in factories. Children have been forced to work somewhere without any salary, without any payment. So these are the kind of calls. But even in the districts, we get calls of children who have problems because of examination, pressures. Not very different, but the city problems are more.
Do children call only if there is any problem, or just like that?
There are many children who call us just like that, to tell us what their program is for the day. Sometimes when the school is closing, where they are going for vacation, some drama that they are taking part in, and they want us to come and see that play or the drama. When children just call us up, not necessarily they have a problem, but they just want to talk to us.
Thank you, ma'am, for coming here and spending your time with us and sharing all these things with us.
My pleasure. Thank you also for giving me this opportunity to be with you.